Welcome to Worldview Tube's Washington Report on this September 22nd, 2025, the first day of fall. Doesn't feel like it here. We have Trump has a press briefing with RFK Jr., Dr. Oz. We have Trump signing some executive orders. We have the Charlie Kirk Memorial Service that took place this weekend. We have a lot to get over, but I'm joined by Jim Pfaff from the Conservative Caucus.org. Jim, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Good to see you, Logan.
Good to see you. I guess we'll start out with the biggest story from today being Trump and RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz having a press briefing on Tylenol and autism. And I guess one of the shocking clips that came out was Trump bringing up the topic of vaccines, which a lot of people speculated if it was going to be vaccines that they were going to talk about.
The businessman from Texas that spent years trying to bring the perfect red heifers to...
But I think when you go for the shot, you do it over a 5-time period. Take it over 5 times or 4 times, but you take it in smaller doses and you spread it out over a period of years. And they pump so much stuff into those beautiful little babies, it's a disgrace. I don't see it. I think it's very bad. They're pumping, it looks like they're pumping into a horse. You have a little child, little fragile child, and you get a vat of 80 different vaccines, I guess, 80 different blends, and they pump it in. So ideally, a woman won't take Tylenol. And on the vaccines, it would be good instead of one visit where they pump the baby, load it up with stuff. You'll do it over a period of 4 times or 5 times. I've been so into this issue for so many years just because I couldn't understand how a thing like this could happen. And it's artificially induced. It's not like something that when you go from all of those, healthy babies to a point where I don't even know structurally if a country can afford it. And that's the least of the problems. To have families destroyed over this is just so terrible. I also, and we've already done this, we want no mercury in the vaccine. We want no aluminum in the vaccine. The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. This is based on what I feel, the mumps, measles, and the 3 should be taken separately. And it seems to be that when you mix them, there could be a problem. So there's no downside in taking them separately. In fact, they think it's better, so let it be separate. The chicken pox is already separate because when that got mixed in, I guess they made it 4 for a while, it really was bad. So they make chicken pox. Individually, they're okay. When you mix them, something maybe happens. So there's no downside in doing it. It's not like, if you do it, bad things. No, it's only good side. And it may not have that much of an impact, but it may have a big impact. So let those be taken separately. And then hepatitis B is sexually transmitted. There's no reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B. So I would say wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed and take hepatitis B. And I think if you do those things, it's going to be a whole different, it's going to be a revolution in a positive sense in the country.
Well, there you go. And that was just on the vaccine side. And it sounds like there might be some more coming out on that side as well. But the big part of the press conference was about Tylenol and Tylenol causing, possibly causing autism when you take during pregnancies.
Yeah. By the way, I want to deal with the vaccine thing first and then get to the acetaminophen thing. There's already people out there saying they're having shivers because this is just like all the press conferences during the COVID in 2020 that Donald Trump was doing. And they're trying to lampoon Donald Trump by saying that because, he was doing, he had a similar approach. Here's the interesting thing. All the medical professionals and scientists behind him during those COVID vaccines time or the COVID crisis, they were 100% wrong. We know they were 100% wrong. We're finding out how bad their advice was completely. On the other side, not to say that Donald Trump gets his medical expertise so-called correct all the time. He was right about hydroxychloroquine. He was right about ivermectin. He was right about intubation. There's so many things that he was saying that they were pushing back on, and they were all wrong about. So, it wasn't the most graceful thing. But I will say this. The amount of vaccines that they put in kids on a schedule that doesn't so much benefit kids but benefit pharmaceutical manufacturers is something that does need to be looked at. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I think there are a lot of vaccines that are very useful. The hepatitis B thing is just the most absurd thing that there is. The chances of a baby getting hepatitis B is very limited, and limited only to sexual behavior, as he rightly says. So I think we need to look at the different schedules. The MMR, the mumps, measles, and rubella thing has been a real problem for a lot of years, and I'm glad that they tend to want to look at it. As far as the acetaminophen thing, the researcher who studied Robert Kennedy is referring to and that led to this press conference said very balanced and rightly that they reviewed a lot of studies to come to the conclusion that there may be a causal effect between a pregnant mother taking acetaminophen. They said for more than 4 weeks at a time. They probably could have been more clear on that, but that they determined in their study that there may be a causal effect and that there needs to be more research. That's exactly what's happening here. Robert Kennedy Jr. is utilizing his position in a proper way to give proper precautions so that we don't just let this go without things being there. There have been studies in the past where causal relationships weren't completely determined through double-blind research, but had been found by NIH and others, leading to a concern about causality, and recommendations were made. This is very consistent with what needs to happen with our public health services. I do hope that HHS and everything below Robert Kennedy's purview goes back to a regime of solid research and recommendations that people can take advantage of, as opposed to more regulation, which they seem to be doing. And so far, I'm quite pleased with. And frankly, this was something that needed to be done. And Donald Trump was there, putting his mark on it. And a lot of people are going to try to make fun of it. But at the end of the day, we're going to find out that there was a whole lot of truth behind what was laid out here. And I'm sure with whatever they intend to come up with as it relates to vaccines in the future.
Yep. And just this graph right here that the White House put out should cause concern. These are the percentage autism rates among children by 8. And starting in 2000, it was just above 5 per 1,000. And by 2022, we're up to almost 30, 33, 32 per 1,000.
I've known 3 different families in my life who, and this is anecdotal, I'm not saying it's scientific, but I've known 3 different families who could trace the fact that their children were quite clear and doing very well until they got their first vaccines, and then suddenly some form of autism came about. Again, I'm not claiming this proves the science. It's just anecdotally what I've experienced. There were a lot of people who have experienced this very same thing and have expressed concerns for years. But there's not been rigorous research done on this because regulatory capture, which is the concept that those being regulated get the regulators to work for them and on their behalf. Regulatory capture is deeply embedded in our public health services at the federal level. And they've been greatly benefited by what these services do. And the fact that we have not had rigorous study on this to honestly and objectively look at the effects of all this stuff has been absurd. And they have been pushing down studies that seem to find some causal relationships, shoved them aside and ignored them. I don't want that to happen anymore. That does not mean every study that determines a possibility of causal relationship is always correct. But the problem is when causality started to emerge as a possibility, studies were shut down by our federal government. That's regulatory capture because these companies don't want to have to deal with this. I guarantee you this, the makers of Tylenol, I think it's Bristol-Myers Squibb, I can't remember who, but the makers of Tylenol are just fuming right now because Donald Trump said don't take it generally. He didn't say pregnant ladies don't take it, which is what they were trying to assert, and they're just going to go freaking nuts. But the reality is that they also, these pharmaceutical manufacturers, have been complicit in many problems in our healthcare. They want to sell drugs, and I have no problem with them wanting to sell drugs. It's just that if we're going to do so, science is necessary to figure out what's going on. By the way, on the supplement industry, I've been hoping for studies to be done more and more there for many years because we find that some of these natural supplements can be very beneficial, and some of them are just not really what they say they are. We don't have a lot of studies on that side. Information is useful here. And when you can get the information, that's helpful. It's very expensive to do these studies, but if we're going to do them in the federal government, we better get the right studies. And I'm so far very pleased with Robert Kennedy's approach on this. And he's got some great experts in Jay Bhattacharya and Marty McCary and even Dr. Oz, who are actually real doctors who are helping look through these things and take a different and scientific view on it. And yeah, I think we're going to be benefited in the long run, even if it seems strange at the outset. I don't think it is. I think we're going on the right track.
Yep. And I just had a good tweet pop up here across my phone. Democrats are now chugging bottles of Tylenol on TikTok.
Hey, if that's what they want to do, it's a free country, and it's free speech for them to show it. Yep. I cannot advise them on a positive outcome of all this, but hey, you're free to do it, I guess.
Yep. Well, another point that RFK made, he said in the press conference that 40 to 70, just to kind of confirm what you were saying with firsthand, experience of hearing people say that their children were fine and they got the vaccine and they had something wrong with them. 40 to 70% of mothers who have children with autism believe that their child was injured by a vaccine. Trump also brought up the Amish community, which has a low rate of autism, I believe, and they're not getting pumped with vaccines.
And they don't do vaccines. Yeah. They don't do a lot of medical care.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to know precisely what's going on, but when you have 40 to 70% of parents seeing some potential causation and some bright line that is on the receiving of a vaccine, that doesn't mean that they're right. That just means you need to get darn serious about this, and you need to help people have good information so they can figure out how to make the best decisions for their children. And the best thing coming out of this is that these vaccine schedules are getting totally blown up. And the reason that they have been put in place is not so much because these vaccines are so necessary in every instance or necessarily even effective in every instance. It's that the pharmaceutical companies want to make sure that they make all this happen at all the points where the most people will take it. That's a marketing strategy. It's not a scientific approach. Parents need to be able to make the decision on their own, determine how to approach it and when to approach it. And then, then we're all free. That's really what we need to get back to. This thing needs to be loosened up and, screw the folks that want to take advantage of it as they've been doing for so many years.
Yeah. I mean, it should be the vaccine manufacturer's job to prove that they aren't harmful.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, yeah, I think they should. They need to do their own research going into the things that they produce. It does not hurt to have independent studies apart from them because they can do research that they can fudge, research that they pay for, that they can fudge and prove things. Independent research is necessary, and you have to have some means of being able to do that. And frankly, what everyone's been told that the HHS, NIH, and all these government agencies have been doing that, and frankly, they just haven't in many cases. Where money's on the line, they're fudging the results in many areas.
Yep, we'll be right back after this break with some more clips and then on to another topic.
The businessman from Texas that spent years trying to bring the perfect red heifers to Israel is coming to speak in Collierville, Tennessee, outside of Memphis, on Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. They now have sacrificed one of those red heifers. There it is burning. They've now gained 10 gallons of ashes. Why do they need this? Well, the Old Testament, Numbers chapter 19, says that for the purification ceremony, for their temporary tabernacle or full-time temple, they need the ashes of a perfect red heifer. This is the first time this has happened in over 2,000 years. The story is going global. It's highly controversial. In fact, there's even a connection between the attacks on Israel on October 7th and these 5 red heifers. Come and hear him speak live in person, Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. Full details, worldviewstore.com, and to get your tickets, worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com.
All right, welcome back from the break. I just have one more clip from this Trump press conference today with RFK Jr. It's more of a funny clip of Trump. Here it is.
For a shot of like an Ozempic or the fat, I call it the fat pill or the fat drug. Sometimes it works, I guess, for people. The ones I've seen, it hasn't worked so well. I got a lot of friends, they're fat. And they said, yeah, I lost some weight. I said, you don't look it to me. But they...
Well, there you go.
I listen. I don't even know what to say. I think there are Ozempic has been helpful for some people, and I'm not going to say that it's a useless treatment, but the reality is, as with many drugs, what it does is it takes over organ function that may not be working so well. There are many ways to deal with the situation of overweight, and frankly, the most obvious ones are the ones that need to be focused on: diet and exercise. I even have to, at my age, I have to be thinking about this, and I've been really seriously reconsidering everything I do. That is the area where it needs to work. When you take over, and another area of drugs that does this is statins. Like statins are dealing with blood sugar levels, but the reality is that it's typically a problem of liver function, and diet can deal with that a lot. I mean, we don't get precise enough about these drug treatments. Drugs seem so easy. They seem to be the easy way to get everything done, and quickly and efficiently. Well, it may not be efficient if it's causing your general functions to be a problem. That's why RFK being in this position right now is really useful, because he is focusing on issues like nutrition and exercise, both of which have been screwed up in this country for decades now. I mean, when I was growing up, nutrition and exercise kind of came pretty simple. You had less processed foods, and we didn't sit in front of our computers all day. We didn't even have computers when I was young, or very little. I mean, you didn't have a normal time on a computer. These are very real issues that exist, and we need to take a look at ourselves sometimes and stop looking to drug manufacturers and the medical industry to come up with things that take us away from solutions that are proven and that are completely natural ways to deal with problems. We got to change our mindset. I'm not saying we got to get rid of drugs or get rid of drug companies. We just need to change how we think through these things.
Yeah, and I think we should also try to stop giving as many, stop trying to push drugs to solve problems that don't need drugs. I mean, some people have more trouble losing weight than others, but if you eat healthy and exercise, then I don't think you need fat drugs to lose weight.
And for nearly a century now, there has been this push to find the perfect pill that someone could take to lose weight. I mean, that was even happening in the 40s and 50s. There was a push for this. The Framingham study that got it so wrong when it came to cholesterol and plaque buildup in blood vessels. They claimed it was eggs and meat and butter, and it wasn't those at all. We know now the science was entirely wrong on that. That study happened back in the 30s or 40s, I believe. Ever since then, when those sorts of things had started to come out in popular, articles and public statements, we just find out that the Public Health Service screws up so many things. We know that red meat and butter and eggs and other things we were told were so bad are actually the things that are best for us. So listen, we are all right to question what's been put out by the federal government for decades now. And it's just time to rethink this and get back on the right track. Quit trying to find the fat pill. Just stop being fat by changing your eating and changing your exercise habits. That's the thing that is most important for all of us.
Yep. Well, in other news today, people, we're not going to be too happy about this, but I don't think it will matter in the long run. Jimmy Kimmel's back, I think, tonight, right?
Yeah.
He's back tonight. And you sent me over a clip of Sunny Hostin, one of the host over there at The View, and just her flip-flopping on, depending on who it is that show's getting canceled, she acts like she's almighty whenever it's the right, but here it is when it was the left.
Our founders drafted the First Amendment specifically to protect the rights of citizens to criticize the government. When you cross that kind of societal norm, you must pay the consequence. And firing her was the right thing to do. I'm thrilled that ABC did it.
And for context, that was 2018 was Roseanne Barr being fired. In 2025 was Jimmy Kimmel.
And had the #1 sitcom on television at the time. It really is an hypocrisy. This is just one of a myriad of examples where people are seen being hypocritical related to Jimmy Kimmel and Roseanne Barr. And, here's the thing. I don't care if Jimmy Kimmel's on television or not. I really don't care. Frankly, I don't even think so much Donald Trump cared.
No one watches him.
I think what is taking place here is, don't give me this idea that the First Amendment is at stake here. Jimmy Kimmel has to stand up to market forces like everybody does in the entertainment industry. And frankly, he doesn't. He's going to get a huge bump here shortly. The ratings are going to go through the roof compared to where they were. He has almost zero ratings. Like, it is a incredibly small number of people that watch his program. He's losing. It's less than Stephen Colbert, who was let go. I don't think his ratings, whatever mini bump he has, I don't think it's going to maintain itself except for a short period of time. And most of the light that he gets on what he does on this program is going to happen through people reposting some clip where he says something stupid again and making him look more stupid. And again, the American people are just worn down by this stuff. The genre of late night television is dying because the format's just not working anymore. Now, I maintain it's not working because you don't have a Johnny Carson type person, the greatest of all late night talk show hosts, who wasn't particularly political. He made fun of both sides of the aisle. And frankly, he was a kind of a retreat from the day, with some great humor and funny skits, funny discussions with top people that were never political in the entertainment industry. It just was enjoyable for people. I think the format could revive if you ever got a Johnny Carson-like person. But frankly, in this day and age, the format's dying. Jimmy Kimmel and the rest of them are eventually going to be gone because they're also money losers.
Yep. Well, in other breaking news, Trump has officially, there was words about it last week, but he's officially signed the order designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization, which has been needed to happen.
Well, I think so. But what's interesting is you've got people on the left, even the progressive so-called Christian left, because I've got a few of them pinging me privately, trying to taunt me on this. I have one of them saying to me, who is Antifa? It's not even an organization. Do you even know who it is? We all know what it is and who it is. And no, there's not some official Antifa organization. There's just a lot of people that think that way. And there is a money trail. I mean, there is a real need to take a look at the kind of money laundering that's coming both from the government and then also know the sources of money that gets to the people who do the activity. People who claim themselves to be Antifa are violent on the streets. They harm people. They have trained themselves to maybe just push someone down and punch them because those cases don't tend to be adjudicated all the way when it comes to assault. You have to be more serious where deeper harm is caused, like cutting of skin or breaking of bones and that sort of thing. They know just where to push, and they go all the way there because they plausible deniability or other things that can keep them out of getting into ultimate trouble. But there is an organized effort called Antifa that designs and develops and trains people on how to use tactics to intimidate people and to try to keep them from speaking in the public square. Antifa exists. It's a real thing. There are real problems, and people like George Soros who are funding these organizations directly and indirectly so that they can cause chaos and harm in our public debate. And it needs to be investigated. And frankly, it needs to be shut down of the tactics that it is using. If they were peaceful protesters, that would be one thing. But they can become, and often do become, violent. And we've had, actually, Antifa is the main cause of the George Floyd riots that were so damaging, hundreds of millions of dollars of damage. I think 25 people killed. Spare me your crocodile tears. Antifa does use terrorist tactics to try to shut down speech and create chaos in this country.
Yeah, and it's not just in America either. They're worldwide.
Well, and in fact, they're causing great harm worldwide. They're doing the same thing against other conservative movements and populist movements in Europe and other places around the globe. This is not a small effort. It is a well-funded effort, and that we need to stop it in this country. It is causing great harm, and it violates free speech when you go into hitting. I think you should maybe have a severe punishment, more severe punishment, I should say, for people during political protests who cause any harm to other opposing protesters physically. We do need to revise our laws to deal with that situation, because we have to stop this and nip it in the bud. We need a rigorous public discussion, and we need to stop the violent actions up to and including Charlie Kirk's assassination. And of course, that's a one-off event. I'm not saying it's happening everywhere, but it has happened. There are more than a handful of times that people have died because of leftist protests. And it is a shame on what we do in this country, and it needs to stop. And then the number one thing is the hope and wonderful opportunity for a resurgence of moral behavior that was exemplified in the Charlie Kirk Memorial on Sunday night. It was a fantastic example of the hope that is in Christ if people are willing to listen to it and abide by it. We need that reasserted as well. And that's just up to all of us to have good behavior, to love our spouse, to love our children, and to care for others. That needs to happen, but we must continue to be vigorous in the public debate to try to change these problems, and hopefully for good.
Yep. And mentioning the memorial, we watched it here, aired it here at Worldview Tube. It was a great memorial, but it's not over yet. It's still, the crowds are still coming out tonight. They have the first TPUSA college event in Minneapolis, I believe, and it supposedly is packed out.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, I wish TPUSA well. I'm a different organization that I run, but the thing is, a rising tide lifts all boats. We are going to be pushing for a resurgence of moral sentiment in this country through what we do. We are going to appeal both to the brains and hearts of people about what makes America the greatest country that ever existed on earth. And our Western heritage of the Judeo-Christian ethic is a secure foundation for freedom, and we need to assert that in this country. I'm very pleased with what I see may be happening, and we all need to pray that it continues.
All right. Well, that's our show for tonight. One last thing. President Trump just announced he's brokered a deal with Uzbekistan, where they will spend $8 billion on Boeing planes right here in the U.S. The order of 22,787 Boeing 787 Dreamliners will create 35,000 American jobs, according to a Truth Social post by President Trump. Take care.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Tonight on the Worldview Report, more than 300,000 attend a memorial service for Charlie Kirk.